We'll come to order. We'd start out with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, you should hear yes.
We're stuck.
That's the live stream.
That was not a favorable angle for us.
All right. Start out with public comment. The one I have down is Marshall Merritt.
Thank you. Gotta get my teleprompter started here. All right, let me first start with an apology. Last month, I made a couple outbursts during the reluctant action on the funding essential fire services, and that was inappropriate, and I apologize for that. My first point, I am disappointed in this board's reluctant action on fire funding. You have a legal responsibility to ensure fire funding per Article 17 of state law. And I quote, generally, do any and all things necessary or convenient for the purpose of improving fire service protection with the area to be served. The law continues for you as a fire board to formulate and present a petition for funds to the county commission. This board's reluctance last month not only bordered unlawful, but your eventual motion does nothing to improve fire service and instead continues our reliance on bingo and pancakes to fund an essential service. Take your job as a fire board more seriously next year, please. My second point, this board should join the supermajority of Jefferson County residents and make a public statement in opposition of the reduction in EMS services and centralization of EMS services the county commission is considering. Of all spoken and officially published public comment, only 2 have been neutral on the Fitch approaches, the rest clearly opposed. The 2 neutral comments have been focused more on fire department funding transparency than the actual Fitch proposals. And one of those was from a member of this board, Steve Harris, who should know we submit all of our financials to the ESA board annually. The county commission obviously doesn't trust this board. They removed you from this discussion because they don't respect you as a board. And as the ESA board members, you're being ignored. And frankly, you should be upset. I used a different word, but I'm PGing it. You should stand up to the commissioner's vendetta and demand an answer to why this board, the board appointed by the commission to make such decisions, has been kept out of these deliberations purposefully. Speculation is that part of the reason this Fitch study was asked for was the ESA's continued request for more people. And as one commissioner put it, the exorbitant number requested this year. It was the commission representative who directed the director to put forward the number of people this year. Did she know at that time what Fitch was going to say? Board member Harris suggested in his public comment that the volunteers are not admitting we struggle. Respectfully, sir, the ESA exists because the volunteers asked for it years ago. We have always put up front our struggles. The combination system works. In front of you every month is a report showing that volunteerism is still alive. Maybe not to the level that we all wish it was, but it is still alive. This month report shows 61% of the EMS calls by ESA's own reporting in Shepherdstown had volunteer lead provider or driver, 100% in Midway and Bakerton, since they have no staffing. It's also important to note that these numbers Bob provides does not include other apparatus response, so that 61 is truly even higher than what you're told. Many facts are being misconstrued to support one's argument, no question. I am narrowing in on specific pieces of the report to generate the support we need, like a reduction to only 4 ambulances, despite my personal belief that this commission is not foolish enough to go with a 4 ambulance model. Commissioner Jackson is lying publicly about volunteers failing on calls when none beyond the initial company were alerted, lying publicly that volunteers are not paramedics and have different training requirements than career staff, all false. We can all improve our collaboration here, and I commit to do so as soon as the more egregious proposals are formally taken off the table. The fact remains, the combination system is not the root issue for the commission. And they are not being transparent with us or you, the ESA board, on the real reasons for pushing this dangerous reduction in service. Until we all know the root cause of concern and the true motives behind these considerations, it is completely incomprehensible for this board to do anything but absolutely oppose the Fitch considerations. Take a stand today by resolving to support the combination system, which even with its minor flaws, exceeds the service delivery provided by any and all of the Fitch proposals. Thank you.
Okay, that was the only speaker. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, approval of the minutes from last month. Thank you, Marshall, for your comment. Approval of the minutes from last month. Everyone had a chance to look at them.
A motion that we approve the minutes as written. Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the minutes as written. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Treasurer's report, Steve and Bob.
Well, I don't have anything to add, as we've had no new checks come in that either one of us have had to sign, so there's the report that basically is the funds, the numbers for the general payroll, ambulance, and fee and mortgage have all stayed the same according to the sheet from this month, as well as the general fund and income shows all the same as last month.
I have nothing unless anybody has questions about the reports that we included.
Anyone have any questions about the report that's included in our packet?
I want to make a motion that we approve the treasurer's report as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the treasurer's report as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. All right. Chairman's report, none. The IAFF local 5351.
Anything, Joe? Our items on the unfinished business. Oh, yeah.
All right. Director's report.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I
skipped
can't
one.
believe Ross doesn't have a report.
I skipped one. Ross. JCESA.
Yeah,
Okay.
just real quick, our last monthly regular meeting, of course, with all discussion on the Fitch report and we were totally opposed of the county commission stance on this. We talked the whole night. We set up 2 other different special meetings, talked some more about it, get some plans in our head, some ideas, whatnot. Of course, we all made a big showing at the big representation at the public hearing. Several of us spoke. We do meet with Commissioner Stoliver and Commissioner F next Thursday, the 24th. We have, like I said, we have some ideas, so we'll meet with them. And we wanted to know what I see is going to be on new business. We really want to know what stands for this board, not the operational people, but this board has on this, because we really haven't heard anything. The only support we got right now is us and most people, important people are the citizens. We got like 150% support. So I won't want to ask her right now, since it's gonna be under new business. Other than that, that's really all we got to report.
All right. Thank you. Now the director's report.
I put the gloomiest thing at the top so that we could hopefully move on to happy things. So the Fitch study that came out of the proposals that are being entertained for my staff and my priorities here, number one, serve the community, and number two, take care of the employees who are here, who are the ones out there, on the street, face to face with the community. There's a lot of potential change in that, and there's been, always when there's one big change on the table, there tends to be just human nature speculation about other changes. And so I just wanted to let the board know that the ESA staff is a little uneasy, just not knowing. So we're as firefighters and EMTs and paramedics, we control chaos. So we're used to things that aren't organized and uncertainty and don't make sense, but we also know we have the tools and training to fix it when we get there. But the things that are being considered would make a pretty big change to like the home base, the thing that we're used to being sort of normal and predictable. So I just wanted you to know that it is weighing heavy on the staff and morale in general. Now on to good news. The EMSRS, which is our retirement system, we are legally obligated to participate in by statute as of 20-something when it was created. EMS providers have to be enrolled in that retirement program. Normally, and for as long as we've been in it, the employer is required to contribute 10.5% of the employee's gross. The employee contributes 8.5%. After their actuarial review this year, they've determined that beginning in July 1st, the employer contribution will go down to 9.5%. So, I mean, a percent's not a whole lot of money, but every penny counts, and that does not affect what the payouts will be in the end. That's the purpose of the actuarial study, is to determine, okay, to be able to pay everybody out the way that we've promised, what do we need to do based on the way money is going. So for right now, we're going to see a 1% savings in that. Along those same lines, our experience mod came in from WV Core, and it will remain again at 0.8 for next year. The experience mod is one of the factors in determining what our workers' comp contribution will be. Remember, we're in a risk pool, just like the county is. So we don't have insurance. We're part of the risk pool. So the classification of the job duty, the risk mod, and the total salary are what goes into workers' comp calculation. And the risk mod is the one that we're happy to see go down. When we started, our risk mod was a little over 1. So 1 means you're average, you're in line with everybody else. If you're above 1, that means you're costing more than everyone else. If you're below 1, you're costing less. And we've seen ours come down thanks to Captain Considine and the safety team, I think, a great deal of ensuring the right training, the right practices are in place so that we can reduce things that end up costing us money. We've seen that come down from over 1 to down to 0.8. So we're really happy about that. Lastly, just want to make the board aware, if you're not already, that we use quickest route for EMS response in Jefferson County, and not to spend an hour going through a full explanation of that, but when an ambulance is due on an EMS call, the CAD system calculates of all the available ambulances, what is the ETA of each one based on where they are, the road network, and all those other factors. In 2014, when CAD was implemented, quickest route was being used for fire and EMS, and Ross, you catch me if I mess this up. But when it comes to fire response, the chief of their territory has the ultimate say of what response. They dictate what they want in their area, and that was established a few years ago, a reminder. So back in 2014, when we were trying to have everything use quickest route, the one system, there were some, I forget what they called it. They're line barriers, but the line barriers were intended to put non-tangible delays in certain places to ensure that the company that the fire boxes as established by the fire chief were respected, so that if quickest route said, this is the thing we should send, but the fire chief had established that, no, that's not, this should come in. So those were put in, but we've gone away from quickest route for fire apparatus. That was a couple of years ago, I believe.
Almost,
Yeah, okay. Well,
we're going with the I call it modified response plan.
right,
They're using the paper copy compared to the quickest route. That's only 5 out of 7 stations. 2 stations are using the quickest route.
company 2 and company 6 are using quickest route for fire as well as EMS.
Right.
So meanwhile, as you all know, we've all had concerns about the length of time it takes to dispatch a call. The ECC, and they're working to try and figure that out, identified these line barriers as a potential delay of something like up to 14 seconds. They, I guess, could not remove those in a test environment to see if that was a problem. They did it in a live environment and found that it did reduce the time it took to recommend an ambulance from like 14 to 18 seconds down to 7 or 8 seconds. So it helped. My only beef with this, I mean, in my opinion, this probably should have been done in 2014 or not 2014, and 5 years ago when fire stopped using quickest route, because that was the purpose of those line barriers. My only real beef with this is that no one was notified that this was going down until after we started hearing different things being dispatched. And you might think, well, what's the big deal? You dispatch, you go. But when our providers are very consistently used to the ambulance I'm on doesn't get dispatched to this place, that's always this other ambulance, and they hear themselves get dispatched, their immediate thought is, that's not right. Something's wrong. Somebody made a boo-boo. They're going to fix this. And then the folks on the other side that are like, that's normally me, if they notice the dispatch since they weren't dispatched, or thinking, so there were some delays there in that first 24 hours while we in the field had no idea why this was happening. But I spoke to Jeff, I think on Wednesday, and got the understanding. But again, my only concern with that is I wish there had been some notification in advance rather than afterward.
So Bob, just to your point, I believe Russ Burgess, the IT director, is in charge of, or has the consultant right now that's trying to build out the response plan for. Did you talk to him?
No, because this doesn't affect response plan. This
Okay.
is quickest route for EMS calls only, for
Okay.
ambulances. And this will have no bearing on response plan.
Fire. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have 2 things to that. It's a damn shame it took 8 years to figure it out. I've been complaining for 8 years why it takes so long for that computer to think. That's no lie. And the second thing is, that's typical of our current director. For a communication director, he had a piss poor way of communicating. Granted, if you can't do it testing, you have to do it live. So be it. Okay, starting tomorrow at 3 o'clock, this is going to happen. But no, I mean, I had a clear blue sky right in the middle of the call. So
Yes, I would have liked some,
yeah.
a heads up as well.
Yeah, at least 12 hours, something just going to happen, and they don't have to go in detail, but again, 8 years to figure that out. Double, 4 like me, been saying for 8 years, what's wrong? That's all, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
I certainly agree that our communications in this communications center in this county has a difficult time communicating a lot of the time. And I mean, by difficult time communicating with to the people that he's dispatching what's going on. That all you have, Bob?
Yes, sir.
Is that because of radios or what?
No, it's, the thing is, when a call is dispatched, then it goes into waiting. And then the dispatcher pulls that call up. The time that these line barriers they're talking about it takes a lot longer for CAD to say, okay, ambulance 4 is supposed to go to this call and pull it up. So the dispatcher's sitting there waiting while they're getting a little spinning circle, waiting for it to pull up.
And it has to do that for each type of apparatus, ambulances, an engine, a truck, a tanker.
And to your point, Ross, I don't believe this is the end of I think this completely solves the call processing time question. This is one item that was identified.
Absolutely, yeah.
In my mind,
Yeah, for EMS,
There-
it's a big plus. True.
there might be more. I think
Yeah.
there might be other.
Between this and what Dr. Cerise helped with the actual E&D part of it, made tremendous help on the EMS side. The response plan will make a big difference too, once it gets in play. But my stance has always been, quickest route would work if Jefferson County was 100% fully staffed every station, no doubt. But when you're dealing with volunteers, in which we'll be dealing with volunteers for the next 50 years, the quickest route does not work. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you all about the reasons. There are plenty of legit reasons. But yes, but it is on the plus side for EMS.
And to that point, I want to say that I agree with you, Chief, that quickest route is not perfect. I don't think, I'm pretty sure you'd agree with me that what we're doing now for fire isn't perfect, response plan isn't perfect. It's a matter of finding the least of the evils, I think,
Right.
because there is no perfect.
Right.
But
But like
I-
I said, once the response plan gets fully activated, it's going to be, you'll see a big change in time it takes.
Good.
Because you won't have to be comparing notes anymore.
Right, that'll be awesome.
Right.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
That's okay.
We were on a good roll there.
Well,
Yeah.
and we need to have an understanding of what's happening.
Yeah, and during the response plan, one of our members who's been helping out with that team, has learned that there's a lot of antiquated things with this computer, whatever, with spilling. I don't understand all of it, but really antiquated, and he's finding some ways to, hopefully with the maintenance of it, when you have to change a first piece of apparatus, it doesn't take forever to do it. You don't have to load each item. He's finding a way now where you can do it as a group, so to speak. But it has something to do with this antiquated system they got. I don't good. It's like way in my head on that. That's sure down there, man, too. We have John Stammer.
All right, any further for the director's report?
I promise this time.
All right. Unfinished business. The IAFF Local 5351's request for monthly dues to be deducted from the payroll. Were you able to talk to the CPA?
I was, and I think I reported to you what the cost was gonna be last month. Where we had left it was confirming with the IAFF that they were, with the local, I'm sorry, that they were comfortable with the terms that the CPA had put forward. And then I believe our next step is we need an agreement between the ESA and the local, just making sure we're all clear on what the same page is. The president, structure, chairman, chief might want to, I don't know what you're called, sorry.
President, but it's all good.
He and I spoke earlier today about a question there, so I'm not sure if they want to move forward as it was quoted by the accountant, in which case we can draft the agreement and send it to Nathan, or how do you guys want to proceed? I know you had that if you want to ask that question first, I want to.
Yeah, I think we probably need to get an answer for that, whether it's gonna be how much of a cost or whatever it's gonna be. The problem was, it's gonna be lined up with like our insurance deduction. It has a annual drop add date. And there may be a fee and cost incurred if one of our members, for whatever reason, decides to drop. Obviously, being a union, we can't continue to collect their money against their will. And if it's a, negligible fee and it's something we can absorb, then it's not really a big deal. We don't expect a lot of people to drop, but if anything happens, it may be right after the end result of the fitch. But after that, I think we're going to be pretty consistent. Right now, we have 100% of the field employees are on the union, so.
And as I understand it, they can add them anytime during the year. It's just a date for a time period for dropping. Is that correct?
Yeah, what the accounting office is trying to avoid is people making changes in and out, in and out.
Right.
Um,
So if you hire a new employee, they can add into it anytime.
I didn't understand it that way, but that's what we were talking about. We need to clarify that. I can find it here.
You can control him now just by not letting him back in.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have a big issue, but if,
And if they do, they gotta be back.
yeah,
Pay whatever you missed. See,
most of our full timers come on due to added staff, which happens in July. So if nothing else, we go, we talked about, it would be a couple months, we'll collect it. And then if they have to wait till November to the ad drop annual, then, that's not really a big issue, so.
Yeah, the reason, okay, I knew I read this, his assumption was employees hired mid-year would have to wait until the new year to be added. Based on those assumptions was the $50 a month charge. I mean, I doubt it's gonna be outrageous if we say that, we wanted to allow new hires to come in, throughout the year, but we need to find out for sure.
Yeah.
Does the board feel that we need to continue to wait for these additional answers, or can we give them an answer? As far as allowing them to deduct that after they get everything worked out with the CPA, which I'm kind of leaning towards that would be fine.
Make a motion to.
Who will sign the agreement? Will it be the chair, me, or who, once we get that put together and through Nathan? Just let me know what, yeah, y'all do what you want, just let me know what we're doing, that's all.
I believe it's an operational piece or an operational function, right? Payroll, I believe it would be fine for you as the director to sign off on that.
I mean, if you guys, yeah, I'm fine with that.
That's my opinion. I don't know if Nathan wants to say anything or not.
Well, it may just mean that we need to bring it back to the board if there's a problem, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If it's different from what Bob has represented to us, that it will be, not that he's misrepresenting, I'm just saying he doesn't know all the answers yet from the accountant.
And that would
So-
be a given anyway, right, Nathan?
Yeah.
It's just for the board to consent or
Yeah,
change or whatever, anyway.
I mean, I'm sure that Bob just wants to keep the board updated on what's happening. I think you're probably correct, Commissioner Jackson, in that this is one of those operational director kind of things that he could probably do on his own authority. And who knows, by the time that all of the information is gotten from the accountant and all that, it may be close to the next board meeting before it actually gets all accomplished. So if I were you, I would, if you believe that Bob has the authority to do that, then, he could go ahead and do it. And if he runs into problems, then he can just bring it back to the board at the next meeting. And of course, I'll be happy to assist him.
Make a motion to allow Bob the authority to let that happen.
Okay, we have a motion to allow Bob to sign the agreement.
Yep.
Once it's finalized. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion passed. All righty. New business brought up by Jacob Harris regarding the board's position on the Fitch report.
I didn't bring it up, somebody else is going to, so. I put it on there. I mean, I figured we definitely can't ignore it, so. I definitely think we need to discuss amongst ourselves. I mean, these guys are Right, we gotta take a stance one way or the other. We can't just. So at least from what I can tell, based on what I'm reading, when I look at the reports, I look at the financials, different things like that. What I'm seeing is the concern, at least from the community, what I see, they feel that services are gonna be reduced. I guarantee the average person in Jefferson County is not looking at these full-on study and stuff like that, but that's the concern coming out of at least the community that I've seen. On the other side, we're seeing, I kind of get the other side too, where we've been looking at financials from these guys for months now, and they've not balanced one time that I've seen. I mean, we've got firehouses with $5 million and 11 years of revenue, and somehow the ambulance billing's a wash every year. Now, I'm not saying anything negative like that. I'm just saying, I just want the transparency of it. Something's got to balance here, because I've not seen the balance. So that's my position. Definitely invite the board to kind of discuss. I don't know.
Well, I can speak specifically for Shepherdstown. And yes, we have a nice little nest egg. And that nest egg was put together by receiving money from people's wills. And we put that into a specific account so that we would have emergency funds in case something catastrophic happened.
Thanks.
We cannot touch that money unless there's a vote of 2/3 of the membership to do so. So we don't touch it. And our treasurer, being the frugal person that he is, takes our interest rate or our interest that we get off of that money and puts it back in it to continue to build it. So, and I'm not sure about the other departments, but I'm pretty sure probably a lot of them are the same way. So we can't touch it. And if we have to start touching it, and then that part comes about, then something catastrophic happens, you lose an engine. You lose a $1 million ladder truck. Those things unfortunately happen. We're not gonna be able to replace it. And therefore, it's gonna be a reduction in service on the county. Because believe me, insurance ain't gonna cover it, not every time. There's no way.
What is considered catastrophic?
You lose an engine,
Total loss,
total loss in an accident.
station might burn down, catch on fire, lose half of it.
Well, I hope there's insurance because.
So,
Well, to a degree, but not.
Blow a motor on one.
Yeah.
Watch the damage that happens.
yeah, no, I mean, I
$250,000
get it.
to repair an engine and blew a motor in Fairfax going down 66 where it shot the drive shaft up through the back door. Insurance didn't touch it.
Okay, so is that money, has that money, or is that money being used for that now?
I know there's a fund at Independent that sits for stuff like that happens, yes. I don't know how much, but I know there is a separate fund.
So whatever we decide tonight, I came open-minded either way, right? I do believe that it's important that whatever we decide, we take a position. I think we owe that to the people of Jefferson County. Regardless of
I agree
anybody,
with
we
you.
don't have authority, but we should take a position.
I agree with it, we need to take a position on it, but I think we also need to look at the two ends of this. This is bifold here. That, it says citizens representative. So not only is it our responsibility to try to make sure that the fire departments and the EMS have what they need to do to take care of the services, it's also our responsibility to also make sure that we don't overburden the people or the public that's got to pay this. One of the reasons is we don't have enough business in this county that could be tapped into to do the things that need to be done. So any monies through taxation or a fee or anything of what you want to call it, you still want to have to come from the citizens. So as long as I sit there with it says citizen representative, that's my approach. I'd love to give you guys everything in the world. But I also understand there was a heck of a lot more to public safety than just fire and EMS. So, those things are needed as well. So, I don't want to overburden the taxpayer. And at the same time, I enjoy giving the fire departments what I think they could use to get the job done or meet the needs of the citizens. On the other end of that, I also want the people to understand that, I don't think anybody wants us to go into a major argument in the public or anything else like that. I think a lot of this got blown way out of proportion, way ahead of time than what it needed to be done. So that's just my point on it.
Well, I'll dispute that, it's not got way out of proportion because the county commission can pull the trigger and they're ready, they've got the trigger finger on it right now. And it would be catastrophic for the county commission to do anything, any county takeover, period. As far as overburden of taxpayers, I agree, I don't pay more tax either. But if the damn public does not want to come in and volunteer their services, then they gotta pay for it.
Well,
And-
and I understand that.
Right, so, it's a catch-22 situation here, and the volunteers who join, you ask, please join our fire department. We want you to put your life on the line. If you gotta take the training, we'll pay for it, but you gotta do it all in your time, your weekend, and all that, miss your kid's birthday and the whole 9 yards. Get all that done. Oh, by the way, we need to work bingo, we gotta serve pancakes, we gotta serve apple butter. That's the whole thing. So, and then the nest egg or what that Twiggy was talking about, that has nothing to do with it. That is for catastrophic events. That is called good business. That's why the county is in the position they are now. So I don't want to hear that. And the other thing is, the county for decades, I'm talking 30 years, has let the business part of its whole place gone down the damn tubes. There is no tax revenue.
Well,
So-
no one's disagreeing with
I
that.
agree, yeah, but it's always, but take it out on the fire and EMS. The ones who's busting their ass, volunteering their time 100% of the time. That's where it irritates the hell out of me, because if I had my way, sir, there wouldn't be a career person in this county. Everybody should volunteer their own damn time. But I know that's old school, I know, and that's history, I do realize that. But we need help financially. And we have been seeking fees. The county commission did not want a fee, they suggested a levy, so we were looking to levy, and it's been on for years. But for them to take any type of stance of intercentralization of EMS is going to be the biggest mistake that this commission has ever done in the history of Jefferson County. Hands down, you might not see it tomorrow, but you'll see it coming down the road. It's going to take away everything that everyone has worked for. The public relations that each department has built with the general public is going to be destroyed. It truly will. And public relations for any type of volunteer organization is lifeline. It's the backbone. If you don't have good public relations, you don't have shit.
That's
Excuse
general
my
for
friend, you
public
don't have
safety.
squat. But, yeah, I'm getting on my tangent right now, but that's the case, that's the whole thing. Don't take this nest egg because fire departments do such a good job keeping their money where they're investing their money, holding their money back for something terrible to happen. Don't penalize us for that. Absolutely not. That's called good business. And if the county commission 50 years ago would have done the same thing, we wouldn't be in this situation now. So that's where I disagree.
So, yeah, no, it's fine. That's why I brought this up. I want us to hash it out. I told you my stance, but I mean, my stance is never solid. I mean, we
yeah,
get, but
Brad,
look,
we need
what is the
to,
fear? All right, I get it. We think there's gonna be 4 ambulances and probably 5, right? And then that's gonna reduce services and stuff like that. So it's 1.3 million in bill in ambulance billing is what's really coming up here. Is that the idea? And
well,
so,
the county commission thinks the damn business is a cash cow. I bet you we may, and I don't know, could be, at the end of the day, we might have $25,000 left on the table. But that's nothing that they're gonna need to do the business.
so there's a couple firehouses that I've just, and we know who they are. The money just hasn't added up on all these financials we've been seeing. Because I've asked you guys, I came with y'all for the fire fee when y'all were coming up to the county commission and stuff like that. I'm all about it. I think I don't know,
Somebody
What?
needs to, we need an oversight somehow to control where this funding goes. I mean, you got certain fire departments in this county paying their volunteer chief to be a chief. Why? That's $33,000. Why are we doing that?
Exactly.
I mean, and there's no
These are just the
there's no
arguments.
accountability.
Can I raise my
it's
hand?
up
please?
for talk.
I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, Shepherdstown,
Go ahead, Rob.
go ahead.
Okay, it all comes back again, every time, it's all about company five. Put the card on the table, people, call, why don't this board, why don't the county commission call that company five? Quit punishing the other 6 departments for company five stupidity, it's been going on for years.
I'd like to interject,
Okay,
and you alluded to this already. Volunteerism's down in this county, across the board.
Across the nation.
Right. Well, it is across the nation, but I'm talking about Jefferson County right now. Volunteerism is down. I know recruiting is hard. It's hard to get commitments for people to step up. We have to supplement it with paid Jefferson County employees. That's fire and EMS. Okay? It's our responsibility to take charge of that. And why? Because we're asking taxpayers to the tune of $2.5 additional million for ESA employees to go out and run all the apparatus and, or most of the apparatus when volunteers not available. I'm not taking anything away from volunteers. You all have lives. I get that. I know what it's like to go work down the road or work outside the area and not be able, and I know the business, to drop and run. I know businesses aren't here like they used to be. I grew up where they left the gas station or Dixie and Arco or whatever, but we have a volunteer problem. And so now we're talking about paid staff in the county. Somebody's got to manage that, somebody's got to pay for that. And that's where we're coming from as the county commission and looking at how we can improve on services. And we haven't even selected a plan yet. So I don't know what all, the scuttle is over reduced services or not going to work or anything like that, because we asked for additional options and that's it. So we haven't even selected a plan yet. But volunteerism is down and we can no longer, it's broken. And I'm like you, I would love to see more people volunteer and do, but it's not feasible in this day and age. We are growing. We've been behind the curve on services for a long time. We've never caught up. So we're taking a good hard look and saying, how do we catch up? How do we even begin to meet what's going on now? Not even anticipating the growth that's coming this way. So we have to look at it. It's our responsibility. We cannot saddle the taxpayers because it is a largely residential area with a $9.1 million tax bill or levy, whether it's ESA or a combination of ESA and fire or fire fee. We just cannot. That's a third of our budget. And that's where I'm coming from. And I get what you are saying. I understand your pains. And I do support you all. But we got to take a good hard look at how we're changing and how we're going to grow with that. We can't keep doing things the way they've always been done. It's not working.
But all the plans you all alluded to, and some of it you like and not like, whatever the case may be, all these plans that Fitch come up with is absolutely not going to work. It's going to be, and everything, again, to quote what Alan Purdue said, no one has ever talked about what is the best thing for the John Doe public. The best health, all we're talking about is the almighty dollar. That's all we're talking about. What's best for the community? Because the plan that they have out there now is not good for the community, except for the 6-8 plan, which we know that will never be touched because it's way, way too expensive. The plan we have right now works, the combination system works. It's not our fault that the county commission for the past 25 years can't figure out a way. We suggest.
It's not my fault either, Ross. I'm trying.
Can
I know, but don't put it back
Just-
on, but,
I'm just,
years ago, we used to pay the fire department, suggest put the EMS fee at $90. We'll be paying $39, that's a joke when you go around again, we're only paying $38.
Can I get it? So the one thing I did not want this to be
That's fine.
was
This is good.
us going, like fighting with the commission. I wanted us as a board, talk it out, take a stance.
well,
That's it.
I'm
Just
just,
for this
I 100% get it. I just,
Discussion.
yeah, I mean, okay, all right. I said.
but even with the fire fee or levy, and I've been saying this, you've got to make the case. I will admit the ambulance fee was rolled out poorly communicated, was not understood. And it's still a pain. I don't care if somebody's making six figures, they still do not want to pay it.
Well, I can promise you one thing, and like, I said, we're going to we're looking more into that, I don't think we're going that way, but there will be a good case presented, and it won't be because of the county commission, it's gonna be because of volunteers, are gonna put it together. We've never get any support from the commission for years. They say, oh, yeah, when the time comes, and they just put tail between the legs and go right the other way. But there will be a good plan, and the citizens will buy off on it. And it's gonna be put together by the volunteers, and it's not gonna cost $35,000. It's gonna be done for free. I can promise you that. Now, we never get back to the issue about company five. You know, I don't wanna be a dead horse either, but that's all that we, association, myself, for a number of years, have always heard, company five, company five, company five. Yep, there is. That's a big problem. Well, why don't the county commission take that $35,000 and get a good investigation team and see what the hell is going on? Fire marshals did, but the only thing the fire marshal officers approved is, yes, they have legit equipment and it meets their criteria, and they do. But take it a step further. Quit holding the 6 departments liable for one. And it came out tonight. You all wrote it, not me. So it's true.
But Ross, here's a little bit of the issue. The county commission has no say over your fire departments. You brought that up to me. We don't have any say in what you all do, how you run your operation. We can hand you the money we hand you every year.
You don't have to hand their money.
No, you're right. We don't. We can put stipulations on that.
Investigate it.
But we cannot, we don't have any merit or say over how many fundraisers you do, whether you charge cash or a credit card for that and have a tracking. You're right. We have no say over them. So there's 7 volunteer fire departments in this county and we have to look at them all. We can't look at one fire department or 2 fire departments. And I get it. There's opposite ends of the spectrum. Some might do things right and some might not.
Right.
But we've got to look at them all because that we, for all intents and purposes, have to treat them all the same when it comes to doling out the money and any oversight. We don't have any oversight.
Well, it's just like,
We can't tell you because you've got, 25 volunteer members on the board, you've got to man those volunteer folks
I
to
think
sign up to
but
You
you
know,
can find out.
5
where
hours a week
everybody's
or
going and
whatever.
whatnot.
Transparency, I think, would be the number one concern I think any of us on the board would even have. I mean,
Right. But I'm just saying, this way of a county takeover is not, there can be some ways, and again, and we've asked this just for time, and we're gonna meet again with Claire and Steve next Thursday. I know that we can come up with a good way, and yeah, we're going to give, there'll be a lot of give and take, we don't have a lot to give, I can promise you that. But you all have no idea, absolutely no idea what you're gonna get yourself into. I'm just telling you, you're not. Berkeley County is a prime example. It's a piss poor system. I just, Ray Charles received a bad position.
Josh, did you?
I had a question. Has anybody thought about sitting down with the EMS chiefs and seeing if the county could possibly, I mean, if we can prove that only ESA members is getting that ambulance out, I think it's as fair to say that we ask for a certain percentage of that money to come back to the ESA if their employees are getting that out. I mean, I don't know what percentage. I mean, something would be better than 4 ambulances in the county. Well, I'm trying to start a talk, just.
I understand what you're saying, but
that's a debate.
right there it says on the last page, volunteer engagements in chartered EMS and county, which doesn't include any of the multiple standbys that the departments do. And, if that occurs and we stop doing standbys because the ambulance crews won't, the volunteer departments won't be able to because we won't have an ambulance service. Then it's up to the JCESA. How are they gonna justify doing ambulance standbys at football games, especially when you have 2 each night on a Friday night?
I'm saying keep everybody, a dual system, but
Like, that's not what the commission is looking at.
right, I understand. That's what I'm trying to avoid.
And I agree. I think that the commission this is my personal opinion, should sit down with this board, the volunteers, and all of us together, try to hash something out.
Right.
Because my personal opinion is, if they go through and do part of the Fitch report, or do the Fitch report, it is going to be a big time reduction in services to the county and a disservice to the community and visitors of this county. So if we could just get everybody to agree to sit down and talk.
Well, we had that meeting last year, and then we were supposed to have another meeting follow up, and that just never happened. There's the reason why it never happened. So I know Steve, Commissioner Stolifer, and, oh gosh, what's his name? One of the other commissioners.
Oh,
One of the legal commissioners. What's his name?
Compton,
I mean, take.
Oh,
that left, or Hudson.
The one that's,
The one that's getting ready to leave.
Caleb,
Caleb, yeah. Because I was at the meeting myself. And, you know, we had the discussion that night. And one of the things that was, and we just never was talking, we were supposed to meet again, but it never happened. And one of the other things that never happened was I absolutely volunteered to help any of the firehouses with programs and to recruit volunteers, and not one fire department took me up. Not one.
Sorry.
I had actually gone out and contacted several other volunteer fire departments not in this area and asked them what they were using. First of all, the first thing they said was volunteers were down, but they had certain programs intact that were helping to attract some of the younger people into fire service. Kind of like what I was in when I was young and got involved in the emergency squad back where I grew up. But no one contacted me and said, okay, what can we do?
and just another point of how the county taking over doesn't work. Shepherdstown has a couple of good volunteers that live in Berkeley County. And the reason they come to Shepherdstown is because they can't run an ambulance in Berkeley County. They cannot get on an ambulance. None of the stations up there have them. The only way you can get on an ambulance is through the career staff up there.
Correct.
So that's gonna take
And that's gonna make
hundreds
recruiting for
of
volunteers.
EMTs and medics
I mean,
out of the picture.
we need to look at what you guys, the county, or maybe this might need to go to the state, but maybe the county too, look at what we can do for the volunteers. I mean, hey, how about something off of like a personal property or something? Let's do, you gotta have some kind of incentive to get.
So the county doesn't control the personal property or the assessment or anything. I mean, the levy, we can set the levy rate, but that's it.
Well, what he's saying, like Loudoun County, Fairfax County also, if you're a volunteer, they'll give you one vehicle exemption.
Right.
This is my vehicle, I don't have to.
Well, and that would be the same thing. That would have to come from D&D or the
And
state.
there are
That's
some-
not-
It's not.
There have been some laws introduced in the state.
Courthouse.
There have been some laws introduced in the state to do that. To give breaks to people who volunteer, but you have to, so I'm not sure what's gonna happen with that. But they may have died already, I don't know that.
There were 3 bills. And of course, I have to check on them because they're out of session.
In the volunteer system within the firehouses there. I don't know for sure exactly how many volunteers you guys have. I'm sure it fluctuates. But the firehouses have a roster of the people on the volunteer list that are either firefighter or can drive the truck or ambulance, whatever. And actually put up a list of folks who works on what day.
That's been tried. It's kind of like a duty
roster.
roster,
Right.
duty day. Yeah.
I mean, that was part of when, and we weren't fire, but we were emergency services as far as ambulance. And we had that down for every minute of every day for every month.
Right.
And I know that requires a lot of people, but we only had to work one day a month. You know, I mean, I don't understand why a lot of people within the community, if it was put to them in that manner, why a lot of people wouldn't say, sure. you know, I can give a day a month to my community, or in some cases, if some of the firehouses where there's a lot of people that are involved, we may even be able to give more than that.
Well, I mean, we've tried that, and we do something very similar to that now, but we tried that the other thing too, you just can't say one person for a month, I mean, for a fire, you would need 20 people.
Well, that's true, yeah.
So, you know, you can't dedicate yourself for 20 people Monday night, you have two Tuesday nights. So I mean, it's got its ups and downs, it's really good. You know, we do something very similar, we're all kind of group meet texting, hey, I'm gonna be in the Martinsburg for 3 hours, you know, so we kind of know, vaguely know.
We're
We're gonna
about
be short,
people
we're
are
gonna be
close.
good, you know, yeah.
Yeah, we kind of, I know when we, back in Harrison County, when I was on the emergency squad there, we never worked with less than 5 people on a shift. And we didn't have any trouble maintaining that, but and I don't understand. I guess back then, I'm talking a different point in time too. I was a teenager at the time, and I'm definitely no teenager anymore. But
Hoover's not in office now.
volunteer.
Damn. He hit you hard, man.
When you're
Biggest
older,
difficulty with that type of system.
They
You
is
can give you a
firemen
rating.
are on volunteer now, because back then you could take fireman's appointed and do whatever.
Yeah.
Now, the continuing education is required for EMTs, paramedics, firefighters. It's no longer, I can give you 1 month, because I'm gonna give you a day ride, but then I'm gonna spend 3 days training to be able to ride. So
Well,
that's
is that
where you-
3 days? How often?
Uh,
How often?
Well, it's continuing, you gotta have so many hours a year, so I mean, it's ongoing.
Okay.
I mean, there's always a requirement, that's the hard, that's a
The
lot. of
training
volunteer
is, you
firefighters.
think it's the training that's holding it back or what?
I think it's part of it. I mean, there's a lot of hours you gotta commit. The training, the actual running of the calls. But I mean, volunteers is down for everywhere. Football games, you can't find volunteers for football games.
You know, when I was talking about
Yeah.
what I did, you know, it was a different era.
Right, everybody, you had a sense of duty when you come
You know,
out.
we were at a point in time where people were volunteering to go.
I understand my generation's kind of whiny.
I truly think, we all knew that volunteers was down, yes, and the funding is not coming in to help the commission. I get that, I do. But I know that we can come up with some kind of solution where they can somehow get government somehow, or, you know, we will try to help. I guess we can, but it's not gonna be to the magnitude that they want. But I'm still telling you that any government bureaucracy getting involved is just gonna totally screw it up. Look at the country today. I don't care what it is, whatever you involved with, whenever you get any, why do you think Trevor County Fire Department has been so successful for over 225 years? We don't have a county government to. It's true. It's, I don't care how you look at it. That's just a fact.
Here's the issue I saw with this whole thing, being new coming in here at the same time all of this hit. This report was done without contacting the volunteers, evidently without much of the director's directability, and then it's put out there. So it's gonna change their whole world. So half of these fire departments wouldn't exist if it goes through, is the way I'm seeing it. But communication, we said at the beginning, you do something at the dispatch center, you don't communicate to the operations, and I think that's what happened. I think the county commission had an idea, they have a responsibility to their citizens, I get that. But we're part of the citizens, so does the fire department, so does this JCESA. And nobody got together after they got their report and said, okay, let's all put all this information together and see what's going on, and then let's develop a plan. It didn't happen that way. It got thrown out there and then everybody's in a hurry, and I can tell you, the fire departments, and I don't know this to be true, but I have a feeling if the fire departments wouldn't have showed up on Thursday, there'd have been a decision made. I don't think that would have been good for anybody.
I don't think you're right.
I think there needs to be sit down, communication, hash it out. There's got to be give and take on the volunteer side. I said that at our fire and rescue meeting. There's got to be give and take everywhere else. Remember, anything you do to reduce services, especially on the fire side, goes back to your insurance rate. Once your insurance rate, your insurance goes up. So there's another, that's costing our citizens money.
No, I
So
think
there's always consequences. And if we don't get together and come up with a good plan,
people in Shannon
Fire
know
rescue needs
very well,
recruitment
because our
containment
taxes, all
without
of our
without a
insurance
doubt.
just went up. Our insurance went up. 'cause,
Absolutely.
Where we live, because.
take a dry hydrant out
chances
that
of
lake.
we have a house
Your
fire,
insurance.
our house is burning up. I
Right,
mean,
take that dry hydrant out from that lake and see what happens to your insurance. I mean, there was a lot of fight to get that in. So I sit here and say that there needs to be some shareholders put at the table and hash a plan out before we forward with anything. But that's my own opinion. Do I think what I've read in that little Fitch report I got here, do I like it? No, and I've seen some other reports that they've done elsewhere that didn't work, but they're recommendations, and I see why the county did it. I don't necessarily agree with how it was done, but I see why it was done. But I think that needs to be, probably, I mean, if that's what they want to go with, it needs to be sit down and hashed out. And I think this board has a responsibility to be there. I think the fire and rescue, as far as the county commissioners, need to be sitting there to make those decisions and come up with a plan. Because the longer you stay where you're at, the further behind you get. So if you don't start planning for what's getting ready to happen, we're going to be farther behind. Is the system they have here perfect? Not, is it good? It does the job right now. So, you know, I think it's our job to look at that and make it better also. So, do I think we could go forward with what this report says? Not in my opinion. But to get better, I think we all need to hash it out. I think there needs to be state and shareholders at the meeting. I mean, I have some insight on some things where they say about the ambulance billing. Yeah, I get it. Everybody needs money, you know what I mean? So you're gonna fight over the dollar. I get it. But there needs to be give and take. I mean, there's no question about it. And I can explain this is where some of this here, where somebody said, well, it don't quite add up. Well, you start taking that you're putting people in that firehouse all day. That's heat, that's electricity. You mean, when you start accommodating people all day in a firehouse, that's more expense to the company. So, you know, is that where they're spending their money? I don't know, but I can say, you know, it's going to be an added expense for each department when there's somebody in there. So, I mean, independent's probably half EMS and half. So you take that square footage and cut it in half and you start billing it out. So, but I think going forward, and I would, sitting here, I would say I would like to be involved, or we should be involved with a hash out session to come up, go forward and plan forward, not to support something like this that we didn't have any input on, the volunteers didn't have any input on. That's just my opinion.
I think in 5 years, we'll be back here talking the same stuff.
Well, you'll be there before 5 years. I can tell you, Fairfax County being 5 years.
I don't think anything's gonna change, because nobody wants to change.
Well, it has to be changed.
I mean, you know, do I like the Fitch report? I listened to it and I watched it and I sat there and I went, it's data driven. I don't need opinions. I don't want to hear opinions. I want data. And that's what that is. Now, that doesn't mean I want to go with it. But it's one of those things that I think that in 10 years, nothing's going to change in Jefferson County. Because there's too many people who don't want it to change. And why? Because we go to meetings and it's always the same thing. I've lived here my whole life. Well, you know what? I haven't. And my opinion is just as important as anybody else who walks in and says, hey, my people lived here since 1740. I don't care. My people lived here since 2010. And my kids are just as important as anybody else's. And I unfortunately think that in 10 years, whoever's on this board is going to be talking the same thing. And whoever's running Station 3, you know, we're all going to be, it's going to be our grandkids, and we're all going to be sitting there halfway to death and going, man, they're dealing with the crap that we dealt with back in 2022. And I don't know what the answer is. And I'm glad that when the house burns up, you show up. And I'm glad that when something happens, your people show up to take care of my kid. But man, this is going to be a tough road to hoe. And there are going to be some people who are not going to like it at all. And there's some people who do. Let me tell you, this could, if done the wrong way, man, you want to talk about people not liking each other.
That's what I'm saying.
And
But if you're at the table, get your argument.
And that's what's going on.
If people make it, a group makes a decision, you got to
To
stand.
make a point to what you're saying, you know, you don't like, not you don't like opinions, but you're listening to data. I agree, but the data that they were given is not even nowhere close.
Well, I mean, I can't. I don't
I
have.
know you.
I don't know if anybody has, but
And you don't have knowledge.
Where did they get it?
there's truth on this side and there's truth on this side. But
Well,
you don't-
where
I
did they
mean,
get the data
I,
from?
There's just no way to, I mean, this is.
Well,
about
I
to-
don't know where to get the data from. I'm thinking from CAD driven, I can't swear to it.
I'm just asking, if you
I'm
say
just
it's
thinking,
nowhere
how does
close.
things need to be involved, like, and that could have been coming from this board and the association, how the system works out. Because there's a lot of towns in there that are not correct, but if you know how the town to post it, then you have a better understanding of it. But that was never, you know, that information was not given. So to speak.
and I would love to see what is gonna come out of the volunteer association and the ideas and the thoughts and everything else. And
We are definitely willing to work. We're with, them. Absolutely.
I think,
But
I think that the volunteers need to have a plan, not what, you show up with a plan at a meeting and say, here's where we start. And the board or the county commission, because if we just show up and all we have is that, we're not going anywhere.
Right.
We're not going anywhere.
I agree.
You know,
Well,
and if
there
it's-
are plans being worked
Yeah,
upon.
And
that's what we're gonna be talking about next Thursday.
Right.
With Tuesday.
But I just want to make sure to say that if things don't go well for this county, you could see one or more fire station doors shut.
I
You know,
have no
one
doubt about that.
or more fire station doors shut.
And maybe, you hate to say it, maybe that's not a bad thing.
Hey, I was gonna ask
You know,
that if,
at some point in time,
Except for the person that lives.
But we're not talking about
right next
25
door to
now.
that.
no, I wanted
You're
to
right.
ask that specifically.
You're
That was on my
right.
mind tonight. I understand, I get that some of the houses aren't 24/7 and stuff like that. I mean, if we can provide 24/7 coverage, but say your average response time is up 5 minutes, I get it. That's terrible. But I mean, we're not providing 24/7 coverage in a lot of, in some of our areas. So that's kind of the give and take that I'm seeing there.
Well, what I'm referring to is if the county just has to take over completely. I have been told, and I'm not gonna say who, so don't ask.
We can't, I mean. we
But I
can't
have
do
been
that.
told by one of the presidents of the other departments that within a year and a half, their doors will shut.
I mean, we just can't we can't base off of that. I mean, and I'm not saying it's not valid, I'm just saying I can't. At
Well,
least,
but it's unfair to the people that live in their area. Then the response time to them is gonna be even more.
so I think I was seeing it was, it could up it by 5-10 minutes, right? Give or take, or am I wrong here? And so, but if,
But the Finch report is just talking about ambulance. If a firehouse door shuts, that means no fire, no nothing, and they're gone.
If you go to the 54
and it might happen.
you're not gonna be.
So-
Okay, I know you
But if
don't
you don't
want to
have
hear this,
the
but I'm
world.
going back to the Blue Ridge Mountain, the old Blue Ridge Mountain. Okay, and I live there. I know my house is burning down if it catches fire. I know that.
I want my house to burn down, because if you guys save half of it, I'm not getting nothing. I need that thing. It's like that barn that burned in Berkeley County, that young man died. That was the dumbest thing in the world. They should have let that thing burn to the ground. I bet you the farmer was sitting there going, please let it burn, because the insurance is more than that kid's life. That kid's life was
Yes, true.
far more important than
So
stupid
I'm
barn.
hopeful that company two has somebody that can get out, right? But still, you got Mission Road.
You better look at.
Well, my point is, I can't pay a fire fee or a levy to watch my house burn down. I can't.
But could you pay a fire and levy that your house might burn down, but they
If I can
rescued
have
three,
some-
wait a minute, but they rescued 3 people out of there because they got there within 5 minutes versus
Right,
20.
yes, yes.
That's the
But
difference.
I'm just saying, this is the reality we're dealing with. And that is, that's 1/3 of the county. So you gotta consider the whole county and coverage for the whole county and not specific pockets of the county. So, and I'm not, again, I'm not, but we have an issue with service. And for what we're paying for now, we really have an issue with service in the county providing that coverage.
am I misguided in saying that if we get 24/7 coverage, that's more important than a couple extra minutes? I get that couple extra minutes can save a lot, yes. but if something happens in those off hours, we're screwed. That's a perfectly reasonable trade-off to me.
I guess where's the
Does that
money
make
gonna come from is what, I mean.
So I
If
thought,
we had 24/7 coverage, hey, I would love that. I mean, I'm working
That's
down
part
the
of the-
road, I know my family would be covered, but we don't have the business structure here to support it.
well, that's what they were saying about
I
consolidating.
mean, I would love that, but,
That's what the report's saying is consolidating where they. put
Consolidating of the houses.
Yeah.
right. But I mean, I am also a big supporter of volunteers. I used to be a volunteer, you know? I mean, I appreciate it. I think we need to do something for the volunteers, whether it's at the state level or county level. We've got to do something for these people. I mean, especially with the gas prices. I mean, somebody going out $4.30 a gallon to come save you and not doing nobody nothing. I mean, that's
Yeah,
huge. We need to do something for our volunteers in this county. We just quit talking about it. I mean, we've been talking probably since 2000. I joined the fire service in 2000, and we were talking about it back then.
Well, that's a very different. Then you have to say, how much you know. You have to be there once a week. You have to volunteer 20 hours.
Right.
If you volunteer 100 hours, does he get twice as much as you only do?
Right.
what
Now
Well,
comes,
you
now
can do
you're
like a
getting into
15%, like
Now
you
you
gotta
gotta
hire
run
someone who can
you
calculate
gotta
that.
run so much and your chief would sign off. You've been
Actually,
there
there's
and did
already
this.
some of that in
Well-
place for active membership and non-active membership, and then every volunteer fire department. I'm close to it.
where are we coming at on this stuff? I feel like we've been kind of.
Because
circling back.
there's like retirement packages.
I just kind of feel like.
My whole point of view is, yes, the county definitely needs help with finances. That's hands down.
I can answer it. I mean,
And we need help
we're-
getting some more.
Well, regarding what you brought up, I can guarantee you that I do not have a position
I think,
as of right now.
yeah.
Because all I have is the Fitch reports.
Fair enough.
And I like Marshall and what Marshall said. That's it.
Right.
I can't make a position
Trust
based
me over that.
upon one set of facts as we want to do. So as, you know, until something changes, I'm not taking a position on anything.
I think the position could be that we need more information before we would act on anything. That's what I'm saying
We're
right
doing a
there.
meeting, like
Exactly.
you said. Let's have a meeting, sit down and talk as far as getting some more facts. Yeah. And get us together and whether it's with the fire chiefs, the EMS chiefs, the board.
When would the plan by the fire board be complete and ready to go? You said there were several being looked at or were in the process by different fire departments or the fire board itself, you guys. So when would it be ready? When you have a plan ready?
We're meeting with two of the commissioners next Thursday to discuss a couple of the ideas and get the conversation started. It won't be done that night. But I can tell you right now, we also want to know exactly what, why, or what is the process, or whatever why does the county commission feel they need to take over EMS system, period?
We're providing the staffing right now.
But any of the things you think about this, you need to do anywhere close to that, it's reduction of services to the community. And again, that's back to providing to the, that's the number one person, John Doe citizen.
Hey, Rob, this is something, I'm just looking here, just at the number, I know that doesn't count for some of it, but I'm just looking at that. I know they are looking at negotiating probably like shared revenue, is that the idea? Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah, we are.
I think, because the argument that I've just heard a lot is when people look at this stuff and they say, well, I mean, if the county's doing 85% of the calls, then, and I know it's not counting everything, then I'm just asking the question that I know we're gonna get at. So we postpone another day, huh? I hate doing that, but I know we have to.
Nothing that says we can't send a letter to the commission and to the Fire and Rescue Association that we suggest having a three-way meeting.
So with a motion,
Well, they've already got a meeting set up. I mean, let's not jump to see what needs to go on. We already have a meeting set up. So,
Fair
I guess,
Yeah. so
you hate to say it, but it's one of those wait and sees for those.
Yeah, but that's only for the volunteers and
Well, that's between the
And the county.
association and the county.
that ain't gonna affect, I mean, that's not gonna.
But the,
We serve it kind of at the will of the county.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know, I didn't come here just because I wanted, you know, I should say. Somebody appointed me, and the county commission appointed all of us here, so we serve at the pleasure of the county commission.
I think a letter stating that we would like to be involved.
Right, that's
Board would not.
well, you definitely have. an
I'm
open
saying
invitation
anybody.
Right.
To come to the meeting next Thursday,
what's the time on that?
7,
Where?
company 4. And I said, you know, anybody on the board can come to the meeting. It's not, you know, we're being transparent. We wanted all 5 commissioners to do like a workshop, but I do understand you gotta do the public thing and all that kind of stuff, so.
So if the county, I just want to be clear on this Fitch report, because I hadn't really had the chance to review it all. If the county adopted that Fitch report, that's taking out all the ambulances out of the volunteers' hands, am I hearing that correctly? If they would adopt that, any part of,
The county would own the ambulances, yes. That's what it's saying.
so
Either
how-
by buying existing assets from the fire departments or buying new assets,
and staffing them by our employees here.
the ESA.
But they won't build around fire trucks.
And the
It would
They will
separate ESA from fire.
It wouldn't be, the employees would not be allowed to get into that, as they currently do now.
I'm fine.
But that's not a detriment to society, though.
Where's that meeting at?
Independent company.
It's always for fire.
Fair enough, so.
I mean,
Postpone.
Did you get the question, David?
Yeah, I,
No, we did not.
let me just state, I
I'm all
support
for
these
it.
guys 100% all the way, but I get both sides, and as a citizen's representative, I've gotta ask questions that I know we're gonna get asked.
I'm just saying too broad, there, because
Yeah.
I was gonna bring it up anyway.
I
I'm
didn't,
glad you did.
I didn't want the fire reps or the EMS reps to bring, I wanted it to come from a citizen rep, if that's, makes any sense, I guess.
Yeah, it just, they needed to have some kind of say, we had nothing.
Yeah, we said our piece, I mean, we,
I mean,
I don't know what we decided,
Why,
but.
why didn't y'all think it was okay to come to the fire chiefs or anybody and before you wasted our tax dollars, $35,000?
I don't think it's a waste of tax dollars in the first place. We need to
Sure it
start
was.
somewhere. No, it's not. We needed to
It's
start.
data,
somewhere.
it's something.
Yes,
Yeah, that's.
But then I'm hearing it's incorrect data, so, I mean, that's kind of a, it's
Well-
something, but but look, if we, all right, everybody kicks against it, no, we don't want that.
Not everybody kicked it.
can I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
make a
I didn't
suggestion,
kick
because you
against
admitted
it.
you
I
haven't
like
read
it.
it, so
But it's not.
you're going off of what's being said and stirred without reading the report, so I don't think that's really a correct assessment or statement, because you're just going off what you're hearing and what the chatter is. So it is a starting point, and I do think it's money well worth spent, so we started these talks and figure out how to fix the system.
Okay, so the invitation has been made from the chair of the Fire and Rescue Association for Thursday, the 24th at 7 p.m.
Because of BYOB or what?
at Independent.
It starts on Thursdays, that's fair.
To bring others too. That always- that always bring
At
others, so.
Independent.
Independent, yeah, and there will only be 2 commissioners, so it's not like a public thing.
Yeah, no.
It's not a public hearing, so to speak. That's
So,
what
You said
Commissioner
Thursday, what day?
Can I ask, is it open to the public?
Yeah, we don't close the doors, yeah, so they might not be able to talk.
Okay.
Just for
That'd be
clarification, it's the
Yeah.
24th, Thursday, the 24th. A couple people were asking.
Yeah, Thursday, 24.
My opinion is that meeting would be better served with the chiefs and the two commissioners that are going to be there.
And be
The
close.
more people in the room, you're gonna have this.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a problem.
But you're asking
That's
us for a
fair.
decision.
I mean,
No,
typically.
no, no, I was just trying to get.
Yeah,
us to
but I mean,
discuss it.
Ross sits on here as a fire association representative, and he's going to be in the meeting.
Typically, that,
You're right, 'cause we just circled around for like an hour.
I'm just
We-
saying, you're gonna have.
We discussed it,
lots of
but we did
opinions
nothing.
coming.
well, but
And-
Chair recognizes it's all for the
Yeah.
other, that's correct. But typically, it's only been like 2 reps from each department. But yeah, I'm just saying, if the board would like to be there.
I mean, we
No,
could,
I'm
we
not-
could definitely
I'm
set
not
something up.
I'm not
afterwards.
opposing this, I just think if you're open to the public.
Oh, no, it's not like publicized, nothing like that.
And you're going to get people that haven't read the study
Right.
and are only going off
Right.
of what.
No, I'll do
dialogue is
my
good.
very best to not make everybody, they're not tall.
I think if it turned out to be where you had mass people coming in, and you'll find the people who are actually concerned and want to try to come to some solution, say, I'm out of here. I
Yeah,
would be.
yeah, because everybody's gonna be thinking of the motion.
Oh, yeah. But no, it's not advertised to the government meeting.
I don't think there's a motion. We got an invitation out of it, so thank you for that.
Are we going to forward a letter to the County Commission Fire Rescue Association? We would like to be involved in anything.
Yeah, we can do that.
I would be in favor.
You said make a motion?
I'll move the motion.
But can you restate the motion for the
I move the
secretary?
motion that we send a letter both to the Jefferson County Fire Rescue Association and the county commission stating that any decision or any workshops that we would like to be invited to and work with.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on that? All in favor? All opposed? Motion passed. All righty, that's all we have for the agenda. Is there anything else that needs to come before the board?
We, I don't know if I can bring this up now, and I don't, is there any look at, restaffing middle way anytime soon? Is that, can they come up next meeting maybe, or can we talk about that tonight?
Fortunately, not tonight, but there, if you want to put that on for next month, that's fine.
Go ahead, put that on there, start the talks on that, see if we can get staffing for the citizens in middle way.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Second.